When it comes to sequels, the common idea is that the third is always where the creators start to falter and lose steam. And while that may be generally true of movies, video games operate on an entirely different wavelength, and as a result there have been some incredible third installments released over the years. With that in mind then, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are the 10 best number 3s in gaming history. Number 10, Fallout 3. Fallout 3 was a huge risk for the iconic RPG series. With new owners, new developers at the helm, and a completely new set of mechanics, this quasi-reboot was not guaranteed to work. Hell, mainstream audiences might not have cared, while old-school fans might have been turned off by the major change in direction. There was a reality where Bethesda pleased nobody. Fortunately though, that outcome did not come to fruition, as Fallout 3 rocketed the franchise to new heights. And you can see why. With a richly detailed post-apocalyptic wasteland to explore, Bethesda meshed the RPG goodness from their Elder Scrolls series with more mainstream shooting mechanics to huge critical and commercial success. With plenty of secrets and interesting characters to find, exploring in Fallout 3 is still amazing to this day. The game just has a real sense of identity, helped in no small part thanks to the stellar soundtrack. Ultimately, there is a reason that some fans still hold this game up as their favourite. It is a unique title compared to what came before and what came after. Number 9, Far Cry 3. Watching Ubisoft try to recreate the magic of Far Cry 3 across all of their various IP has been like watching a one-hit wonder release new singles to chase the original high. Still, one-hit wonders are popular for a reason, and that doesn't change the fact that Ubisoft absolutely nailed the open-world formula with Far Cry 3. In fact, it's hard to overstate just how big of a deal Far Cry 3 felt upon its launch back in 2011. FPS games had dabbled with open worlds before, most notably in Ubisoft's own excellent but admittedly more niche Far Cry 2, but Far Cry 3 was the first game to truly make its open world sing. Waging a one-man war against the psychopathic Vaz and his army of goons across the Rook Islands felt like a revelation back in the day, and it's no coincidence the number of open-world FPSs shot up in the years following Far Cry 3's release. It is a shame that Ubisoft have spent the last decade enthralled to the blueprint Far Cry 3 laid down, but that just shows how special a game it was. Number 8, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. One of 2 games included here not to include 3 in its title. This list would be nevertheless incomplete without discussing the third entry in the Zelda series. This was the game where Nintendo finally cracked the Zelda code. After the charmingly basic original and the deeply weird Zelda 2, a game best summed up with its mimetic "I am error" line, Link to the Past lit the path Zelda would follow for the next 20-odd years. Many of the series' mainstays, traveling through parallel worlds, the Master Sword, were introduced here, creating a journey that still regularly cracks many people's best Zelda game polls. It's an accolade richly deserved though. While the first 2 Zeldas are only worth playing for a historical sense, Link to the Past is still an endearing, richly rewarding game in its own right. Not many titles entering their 4th decade hold up as well as Link to the Past is all I'm saying, and if you've yet to experience the wonders of Light and Dark Hyrule, this is still an adventure worth undertaking. Number 7, Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, hold your horses there. I know you're probably thinking, Josh, you oaf, stop trying to cram Red Dead Redemption 2 into yet another list on a technicality. But let me just say, despite having 2 in the title, obviously, Red Dead Redemption 2 absolutely fits this list, acting as the 3rd attempt from Rockstar in their Red Dead series. One of the best open-world games of all time, RDR2 sets the bar for cinematic storytelling and gameplay in the subgenre. With some of the best gaming characters around, including franchise newcomer and playable character Arthur Morgan, Red Dead Redemption 2 gives fans one of the richest worlds to live in ever seen. Though you're of course playing through a rewarding script that Rockstar has penned, Red Dead Redemption 2's silver bullet is actually the option for player expression. It's up to you what your Arthur gets up to every day. Are you going to spend your time hunting outlaws, go for a spot of fishing or hunting, or just indulge your inner paleontologist and go hunting for dinosaur bones? Put simply, the rich history of the Wild West has never been better represented. Number 6, Halo 3. With Halo's importance in the gaming landscape having drastically diminished over the last decade, younger gamers may not even realize what a huge deal Halo 3's release was. Launch parties were held all over the globe where celebrities such as Zac Efron and Pharrell Williams could be found geeking out alongside us regular humans. Halo 3 felt like one of those moments where gaming finally became accepted in the mainstream, and thankfully it showed the medium off in a really positive light. The single-player campaign showed Halo at its bombastic best, but it's the multiplayer that cements Halo's legacy as an all-time great. The best proof of that actually came earlier this year, when Halo 3's Xbox 360 servers were finally shut down after 14 years of service. The outpouring of articles and fan posts that lamented the passing of one of gaming's cornerstones was genuinely touching, and showed the importance Halo 3 held in the hearts of so many. Number 5, The Witcher 3. If charted on a line graph, the Witcher trilogy's rate of improvement would look like a steep slope that transforms into a brick wall at the end. The first Witcher was a decent RPG held back by a myriad of bugs and a tedious first act. Witcher 2 was a huge improvement, but still hobbled by a needlessly high difficulty level and a couple of glitches here and there. The Witcher 3, however, was the baby's bear porridge to its developers Goldilocks, as they finally got one that was just right. Alongside ironing out the numerous technical quibbles and foils of the previous games, well, for the most part anyway, Witcher 3 saw its writers at the peak of their powers. Characters such as the Bloody Baron earned CD Projekt Red their reputation as creative powerhouses, as the main cast all shined equally bright across the game's 100-hour runtime. Hell, part of the reason Cyberpunk 2077 was seen as a crushing disappointment was due to the incredibly high bar set by The Witcher 3. Cyberpunk is a good game, but the harsh truth is that good always looks bad next to GOAT. Number 4, Super Mario Bros. 3. Speaking of GOATs, Super Mario Bros. 3 still holds up as the pinnacle of platforming perfection to this day. Much of what we said about Link to the Past applies here as well. After a charmingly straightforward first game and a bizarre misstep of a sequel, Nintendo struck gold with the third entry of an iconic franchise. Again, much of what would come to define said franchise was introduced in its third iteration. In this case, the overworld map, Bowser's nieces and nephews, and some of gaming's greatest power-ups. Hell, there is a reason that Nintendo chose Tanuki Mario to be the game's cover star. Obviously, the animation isn't as tight as today's pixel art wonders, but the clunky, cartoony graphics still retain their charm. And Nintendo's signature blend of playful design, where every level feels like a playground built specifically for Mario himself, and challenging gameplay remains as gripping as ever. There's a reason every mainline Mario game feels like an event, and that tradition arguably started here. If you're looking for a gateway into retro gaming, then Mario Bros. 3 really is as good as it gets. Number 3, XENOBLADE Chronicles 3. After redefining the JRPG with the masterful XENOBLADE Chronicles, developers Monolith Soft seriously screwed the pooch with the follow-up. XENOBLADE Chronicles 2 was a bloated, poorly written mess of cringeworthy characters and overwhelming feature creep that threatened to spoil the series' legacy. Needless to say, fans had some trepidation booting up XENOBLADE 3 for the first time. Could the franchise recapture its former glory, or was the original game merely lightning in a bottle? Well, 1 hour in, fans' fears were put to rest, as this was just as good as the first game. But 10 hours in, fans were hopelessly addicted and loving every minute of the sequel, and over 100 hours in, fans were squeezing out every last side quest to postpone the dreadful moment when they'd have to finally say goodbye to XENOBLADE Chronicle 3's wonderful world and the characters that inhabited it. Number 2, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Now, there are some people out there who would say that Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater was the best the series ever got. Not me, of course. That's always going to be MGS2 for my money, but I can't hold it against any of you if you do tell me that Snake Eater is more your bag. These are, quite frankly, two of the best stealth games of all time. In the case of Snake Eater though, what other game would force you to climb a ladder alone for over 2 minutes solid? What other game would make you do so after a heart-poundingly tense boss battle? And what other game would soundtrack it with one of the greatest songs ever recorded for a video game and make it one of the most iconic moments in the entire franchise? Equal parts baffling and brilliant, MGS3's infamous ladder climb remains lodged in the memories of every gamer who experiences it, and is the perfect example of the game's idiosyncratic genius. And that's just 2 minutes. 2 minutes of a 12-hour epic stuffed with great boss fights, heart-wrenching drama, and enough wildlife consumption to make Bear Grylls nauseous. In a world of completely unnecessary remakes, this is one game that deserves to be experienced by a new generation of gamers. Number 1. Grand Theft Auto 3. Has there been any other third of video game installment that changed not only its own franchise, but gaming as a whole, quite like Grand Theft Auto 3? Hell no, that's why it's number 1 on this list. While maybe not anyone's favourite GTA now, this was undoubtedly a watershed moment for the series, moving it to a fully realised 3D open world and establishing the core conventions of this subgenre for years to come. And after that, what else is there to really say about this incredible threequel? Liberty City itself is an iconic location still, the soundtrack is impeccable, and the mission design is still fun as hell as well. Future games may improve on the foundation, but there's no larger jump in quality to be found in the franchise than that of 2 to 3. So, that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Are there any third installments I missed off here you think deserve a spot on this list? And what do you think about the picks that I did include? Let me know, and while you're down there, could you also please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.